Hello everyone, welcome to Across the Park podcast. Myself, Judgy, joined by Andrew Price. Just to give the Blues a little bit of refreshing news or a bit of a refreshing update, I guess, from us too. I don't think I've really spoke to you, Pricey, in 2 weeks. How are you doing?
Yeah, I'm all right. It's a bit. I don't know. It's nice to have a break, I suppose, but I'm missing going. I'm missing going to the game and meeting up and stuff like that. I think, as you say, we don't. Footy's our thing, really, and so if we don't have footy together, we hardly see each other, which is a shame. But yeah, it's nice to get together for a little one-off today.
That's it. Well, we're out on Saturday, aren't we? But it's little couples day out, and as I say, no domestic footy, so it'll be a bit weird again. We won't really be able to rip each other about nothing. Well, Blues and Reds. Well, they will.
Reds England, don't they? So
yeah, that's it.
They're anti-England, so that's what they'll be trying to rip us about.
Scousers, aren't they? Though they're not English, the Scousers.
I know.
Anyway, we won't get into that. So we just thought we'd come on again, just get some content. I know a lot of you do look forward to our episodes. I know a lot of you will have just switched off domestic footy, but we just want to come on and have a little chat about anything relevant, Everton-wise, and catch up a little bit. So we've got a little bit of a running order. We've also got a competition in the mix for anyone. So any of the Blues who are desperate for their Everton fix can get it this Saturday if they want. So get down to the Hot Wok. We've got Alan Stubbs there. Well, we haven't. The Hot Wok have got Alan Stubbs there. It starts from 3 o'clock, so they're going to get the World Cup game. I'm not sure which World Cup game's on at 3. I'm actually lost on that one, even though we're out ourselves. But the World Cup game will be on 3 o'clock. Alan Stubbs will be down from 5 o'clock, doing some meet and greet, and then there's going to be a Q&A at 6. Obviously, decent food there as well. They've got Steins on the go at the Hot Wok as well, so that'll be a decent little day. And we've got a couple of tickets that you can win yourself in a competition. So if you want to take your best mate or your partner down for the day and spend the day talking about Everton and listening to some stories from Stubbsy, top Evertonian, then you've got a chance to win that later on in the show. So stay tuned for that. Just a quick shout out to our main sponsors, Globe Gas. Lee will be down there on Saturday with a good mate of his on our behalf. So again, if you're down there and you're after getting some gas work done over the winter and you're looking to try and save some money in the increasingly difficult times from an energy point of view, then go and speak to Lee. I'm sure he'll be really happy about us getting you to speak to him on his day off. But anyway, he'll be down there. But Globe Gas, check them out. Good page on Instagram which shows off all their bathroom work, and it's globeheating.co.uk. So Pricey, and I know you said before we come on, you haven't watched that many of the World Cup games. I'm the opposite, to be fair, because I'm working from home and I'm kind of in a living area where I've got a TV in the background. I have watched quite a lot. I must say, and I don't know how our listeners and viewers have felt, but it's been boss having a game on at 10 o'clock in the morning, then another one on. You know, the first few group games were just boss. It was just like you got up in the morning and you'd have your first meeting in the morning, then there's a game on, and then there's another one. I enjoyed that, to be fair.
I haven't had the luxury, to be honest. I work from home as well, but I must work a bit harder than you, Judge. I just haven't had the luxury of. I've watched the 1 o'clock game on my lunch, and then what was it, the 4 o'clock game or 3 o'clock game, 4 o'clock game. I'd have a little look at that as well. Not always, just dipping in and out and have it on my phone or whatever on the side as I'm working. So it hasn't been the same for me. But the games I've seen they've been all right. You know, I've watched, for some reason, I've watched all the Belgium's games. They've looked typical Martinez team, out of ideas. Especially in that last game that they had, they were like statues just standing still waiting to pass it to each other. They were terrible, proper Martinez. So for some reason I've caught them all of their games, obviously the England games, and I watched 2 of the France games as well where they've looked good. Didn't see their one against Tunisia where they got beat, but I think they're the standout team for me so far is France.
Yeah, it's been Brazil for me, but just while we're on Martinez, obviously at the time of recording, which is Thursday night, you'll probably listen to this on Friday if you're listening or watching. Martinez has stood down as the Belgian coach. No surprise, really, given, as you've said, the abject performance and the typical Martinez way that they were playing, which we've seen towards the end of his Everton reign. There was, before the break, heavy rumours that certain members of the board were looking to try and bring Martinez back. We don't need to go into too much detail about either of our thoughts on that, because I think they're quite clear. I agree with you, but just kind of putting ourselves in that frame of mind, if it was going to happen, do you first of all think that's a possibility?
Martinez coming in, I think Ken Wright likes him, doesn't he? And I think he was definitely in with a shout at that time when Moyes was also in with a shout. Yeah. I'd be surprised if we got rid of Lampard. To be honest, I think this season, unless we're bottom of the league end of Feb, or whatever, bottom 3 end of Feb, and we're a bit adrift, then I'd be surprised if we got rid of him. But I just don't really ever like the idea of going backwards. I think there's a reason why you get rid of him, apart from managers who say someone like Ancelotti or Moyes, who left out on a high, and maybe I personally consider having Moyes back when he was touted. But if you sack a manager, there's a reason why you've sacked him, and you're just going to run through them. You're just going to hit them barriers again, and he might come back in the summer and he might have a decent first season, but you'll still come to them barriers and you'll still come to that way of thinking. And what frustrated me most of all about Martinez was his stubbornness and his not able or willing to alter the way he played. And as I say, first season was one of the best I've seen us, when it was sort of that hybrid between the Moyes and Martinez team. But as soon as he had his own team, I found it very boring and very predictable. So if Lampard were to go for some reason, then no, Martinez wouldn't be my choice.
Yeah, I guess the exception to your assumption there is where a young manager comes in, maybe leaves or is sacked, goes and learns and develops and whatever, comes up with a revised way of working. But as we've seen in this World Cup, that certainly seems to be the case with Martinez. Even his post-match interviews, where he seems to watch the different games with everyone else, it just stinks of vintage Martinez, and that's certainly something I don't want to see back at Everton.
Yeah, and I think he was arguing with the Belgian press as well. As soon as you start arguing with the press as a national team manager, you're gone, aren't you?
I'll hide him for nothing, yeah. Well, back to Everton matters. I mean, we'll stick with the World Cup briefly. There's been a few players that have played regularly for their respective teams. One of them, or two of them, are already through. Jordan Pickford, obviously, in the England goal. Idrissa Gana Gueye, they'll be facing up against each other at the weekend on Sunday. Senegal against England. Have you caught any of Senegal's games? I don't want to put you on the spot. But
I haven't seen them all the way through. I've seen some highlights from them, but no.
What's been interesting, was I don't know if you remember towards the end of Guy's first spell at Everton, when Silva pushed them further up the pitch, and he was he wasn't like a number 10, but he was getting in the box a lot more and was kind of expected to try and that's where it ends up being his undoing, so to speak. A lot of fans started getting on his back for losing the ball and what have you, which we've had a little bit from some fans since he's come back. But for Senegal, he has played a lot higher up the pitch. In all the games he's played, he's been having shots on goal. He's been close to scoring on quite a few times, and it's not been poor finishing. It's been decent goalkeeping that's stopped him from scoring. But it'll be interesting to see if that stays the same against England, or whether they do deploy him deeper to try and combat England's attacking midfielders. But I think it's an interesting test for him against that England midfield.
I think he'd be perfect if playing deeper against England and just try and stop that space what Harry Kane tries to drop into. I think I'd just have Ghana just in front of the centre backs if I was Senegal. But as I say, I haven't seen him all the way through, so I don't know how they're playing or he's playing. But as soon as we got Senegal, it was first thing I was thinking of was playing against Gana Gueye and seeing how he fares against the England team. So it'll be interesting to see how he gets on. But obviously, hope he's on the losing team on Sunday.
Yeah, as I say, it's one of them, isn't it? I think you want to see your players do well, but unlike the Reds, we would like, above all else, for our country to win something. Jordan Pickford, I mean, as always, he's been fairly consistent for England. And again, I think there's been a lot of heavy rumours actually since I think the first or second game that Chelsea, because they love spending a lot of money on goalkeepers, are looking at Pickford. I mean, it's been a question that's lingered for a long time in terms of where do Everton fans stand on potentially selling Pickford. Let's, again, like hypothetically, like I did with Martinez, if a big bid was to come in January in the region of 50-60 million, would you be up for selling Pickford? Do you think it's the right time to do that now?
The way I look at it, whenever you say, would you take 50 million from, would you take 60 million? It's the price that you're going to have to pay to get someone of quality to be in goal again. I know you can say, well, we got Begovic, but that's till the end of the season until you bring in someone else. We've basically got one of the top keepers in the world. When you look at the World Cup, he's one of the most consistent keepers in the world over the last few years. Like the World Cup, the Euros, this World Cup, and in the Premier League as well. He's never really, he's had a few dodgy moments for Everton, but he's always been consistent for Everton. He's always been, he grew into his role as well at Everton as a leader, and probably off the pitch as well, and he's that way for England. So yeah, you look at the money, you go 60 million for a keeper, and then the party says, yeah, well, we'll grab that money and then we maybe invest it in whatever, but you're not going to get a top player for that type of money, and I just don't see why. But the Chelsea connection I don't get either, because Mendy's a good keeper for them. He's a really good keeper. So
Mendy's a good keeper. He's the second keeper. He's not even getting me.
Yeah, because Kepa's coming in. He's let them down too much, Kepa, though. I think they want to get rid of him as soon as
Kepa's been the man that the Potter's played.
Yeah, but Mendy was injured though, wasn't he, for a bit? So I think he was
out the team a while, Mendy. Yeah. But I mean, I guess another hypothetical: if they were giving us Pickford, if they were buying Pickford, giving us money and one of them keepers, is that something you'd entertain? Because I guess what I'm trying to ask you is, does this team currently need a world-class goalkeeper, or would we sooner get 2 or 3 players to upgrade the starting 11 and a good goalkeeper, if that makes sense?
Well, I'd take one of those 2 with money, but I think you can't underrate what the keeper brings. You can't underrate not only shot stopping and saving crosses and all, and catching crosses and all that, but what he brings to the defence and how confident it makes the defence. So I think a keeper's a massive part of the better keeper you can have, and the better it is. So I wouldn't want to invest in outfield players and bring in a subpar keeper and say, oh well, he'll tide us over, because we don't need a world class keeper at the minute. Because we might not need a world class keeper, but you need a really good keeper in the Premier League, and especially if you want to progress. And I know this season isn't about really progressing for us, but it is in the future, and he's the type of player you want to keep hold of. For me, what about you? Would you? I mean, so the hypothetical to you. So 60 million. We invested in a I don't know, a wide forward and have Begovic till the end of the season, and then look at it again in the summer.
I don't know. I've always been. I've never been unlike a lot of Evertonians. I've never been typically critical of Pickford. I've always thought that he's a very good keeper, and I think he's one of them where I don't think you'd really appreciate him until he left, and we maybe got someone else in. As we found in the past, I think we're a little bit like that with Tim Howard. We didn't realise how much of a consistent goalkeeper he was in Howard until he left and moved on. And yeah, I don't think I'd be dying to sell him, but I'm also, it's a little bit like whenever anyone would say to me, what about keeping this fullback? I'm always, if we're a mid-table side or a team in the bottom half, I'm never averse to letting go of a fullback for big money if we can bring in a midfielder or a striker, because I think them positions are more important. But a goalkeeper, I agree with, is a little bit different. It can have such an impact on the back four that you maybe don't realise it's a big risk letting the goalkeeper go. I think if he made it known that he wanted to leave, I don't think this is a bad time to do it if we have got the chance to reinvest the money in the right areas. But I think it's a really interesting one, to be honest.
He's about to hit his peak, isn't he? I'd say, even though I've just said that about him being a bit, one of the top keepers over a certain amount of time, he's just coming into his peak, I would say, and just maturing as a keeper. That's
what I mean. But my question is, are we really gonna bear fruit of that peak? If we were 5th or 6th, we were in a Newcastle position, and we're about to get a world class keeper who's going to peak, I'd be thinking we need to keep him because he could take us to that Champions League level. I just don't know if that keeper is going to take us.
But he could also be the difference between staying up, though, couldn't he? Like he was last season. There was loads, he kept us in it a few times. I think at the Chelsea game in particular last season when he kept us up. So, yeah, look, I'm an ex-keeper. I used to play in goals, so I realise how important that position is. And I'm always looking at keepers and looking at teams who've got poor keepers and how it holds them back, going, as a team. So it's I'm not interested in that type of thing. But so yeah, I'd big money, and as you say, it's all about the replacement for me. If you're getting money, who you're going to bring in to replace him, because we've had poor keepers in the past, and how frustrating is that being?
Yeah, definitely. All right, we'll leave that one. Oh, Onana had a typical Onana couple of games, to be fair. Come on, got booked a couple of times. suspended for the last game. He made a difference. He made something of an impact. But even the commentators were struggling to kind of work out what he is. And I think that's a little bit of the enigma we've had so far. It's like, look, you can see he's a presence. You can see that he kind of, he gets across the pitch. He makes really decent tackles. But again, I think it was Andy Townsend who commentated on both the games that he played in. It was like, look, he has made a difference, but you just don't really know what he's doing. Do you know what I mean? He's a little bit scruffy and makes some strange decisions on the ball, and he's not really good enough in possession, kind of to get teams up the pitch. And it was probably the two games, he probably summed up really where he is. He's obviously a very talented individual. He's very young and he's very raw. But I think he showed in a nutshell kind of what we've seen so far.
Yeah, I agree. But I think he's definitely got potential, and he's only young. He's got potential. The first game was it when he came on, and he did change. He completely changed Belgium when he came on. Yeah. And then he changed the way he played because of his energy and his work rate. But as you say, on the ball, yeah, it's a lot to be desired, I think, and it's just nurturing that. And I don't know whether he's a holding midfielder, and that's what you're getting to there. Probably whether he's a holding midfielder or he's a box-to-boxer. Okay. He's probably not good enough to be a box-to-box for me. I probably have him as a holding midfielder or a deeper midfielder. I think he'd be better in that role. But if he is going to have that role forever, he needs to be coached to do that. You can't just be, at the moment, as you say, he's a bit scruffy and a bit all over the place.
Yeah, fair enough. I've just seen an alert on my phone. And this might be irrelevant to people tomorrow, but Japan were 1-0 down against Spain at half time. They've now turned it around and they're 2-1 up.
Oh, really?
Yeah, so we won't take too long in this podcast. We wouldn't mind watching the last 15 minutes of that game. But just a few more things to touch on. I mentioned at the start about this competition. We might as well touch on it now. So you've got the chance to win 2 tickets. Sorry, I was about to put it on a ticker there and I've misspelled something. Got the chance to win 2 tickets. To win tickets. Sorry, apologies. I'm trying to get something to come up on the bottom of the screen, and I've wrote tickets twice, and it's really threw me.
It was to win 2 tickets for
Alan Stubbs. We need them with Alan Stubbs at the Hot Wok on Saturday, 3rd December. So you've got to answer the following question. So it's really important you take note now. So whether you're listening, listening to it and not watching, or whether you're going to see the ticker on the bottom in a moment, which I'll put up. It's 2 tickets for the Hot Wok on Saturday, 3rd December. So it'll be tomorrow for most of you. Answer the following question. How many Premier League goals does Alan Stubbs score for Everton? So how many Premier League goals, not cup goals or friendlies, just Premier League goals did Alan Stubbs score for Everton? So you need to send your answers to team@acrosstheparkpodcast.co.uk. So that's an email. Or if you're on social media, you can inbox us on Twitter or Instagram. If you want to jump on our website and send us a message on there, you can do. It'll say at the bottom, terms and conditions apply. The only terms and conditions that apply are if your message is on social media, you need to be following our page, and you also need to subscribe to our YouTube channel. So that's a nice, easy one. You just need to click the subscribe button at the bottom if you're already watching on YouTube, and you can either email us at team@acrosstheparkpodcast.co.uk or inbox us on Twitter or Instagram. Obviously, if you win the tickets and you choose to send your son and his mate, or your cousin and his mate, or whoever, that's absolutely fine. That's your gift. But that's a competition for you all. So I'm going to put that up on the ticker at the bottom. So if you're watching on YouTube, you can read the question again, and you can read how to answer that question or how to be in with a chance of winning. So what we will do is we will close it at 5 p.m. tomorrow. So this episode should be out. Will be out Thursday evening. You've got your working day on Friday to decide or find out from the missus if you've got the day off to go and do it, or to take your missus if she's that way inclined. And you've got till 5 p.m. to send your answers. We'll put it out on our Twitter and Instagram, the winners. So if you don't follow us on social media, again, get someone who does follow us to have a little check. We'll announce the winner on social media, and we'll also reply, more importantly, to the person who's won. So if you've emailed us, we'll reply to that email. If you've inboxed us, we'll reply to the inbox. But that's the competition. So yeah, just moving briefly on, Pricey, we've got a few more things, Everton, to catch up on. Firstly, the FA Cup draw. So in typical Everton fashion, one competition we're left in. only probably a handful of teams, and I'd probably say 4 or 5 teams where you'd think, please don't give us them away from home in the FA Cup. And sod's law, Everton draw, Manchester United away in the Cup. Fancy our chances?
No, I'll be honest, only because it's not, it's historically not the place to go, especially in the FA Cup. They got a good record in the FA Cup as well, but it was horrible because I was watching it live. I never watched the FA Cup draw live. I don't know what I was watching. It was on after it, or I can't remember why it was on. I never watched it. They were talking to like John Aldridge and that before it.
Oh, God, that sounds like a terrible show. That Jesus Christ!
I was turning it, like the lad was watching. I was like, turn it off. I'm not watching him and all that. And I ended up carrying on watching it, and then as the teams are getting drawn and teams are getting going, I'm like, we're gonna get Man United away, yeah. 100% we're getting Man United away. 100% we're getting Man United. Trying to cry it, that we didn't, but we did, and so be it. But look, it's one of the old saying, and if you're going to win the cup, you have to beat someone along the way. So no better than Everton. I'll tell you what, we'll take a good away fan, good.
Oh yeah, 100%.
There, and it'll be bouncing in your way in there, I imagine.
That's the good thing with the FA Cup, isn't it? You get a better allocation, so we'll have a good, as you say, we'll have a good following there. You imagine it'll be about 8,000. I think isn't it 10%? Could it give you 10%, haven't they? So their capacities, so I think it might be more than that. So it's going to be a good 7,000 there, which will, as you say, be a great atmosphere. We'll try our best to get down there ourselves. So yeah, just a couple more bits. There was the tour that Everton did to Australia, which was obviously a bit of a PR thing. A lot more of the youngsters and fringe players were involved because I guess the more seasoned pros and valuable players were playing for their respective countries. It was obviously a big boost for Anthony Gordon in particular. We the first game against Celtic, which was I guess the showpiece, was a bore fest, 0-0. We won that on penalties. Always nice to win. Obviously, good for staff, the morale, the players to win that particular game, but it wasn't a particularly exciting one. The second one, though, which was against Western Sydney, not again the strongest of opponents, but that was a 5-1 victory, and Anthony Gordon got a hat trick. Anything in particular from the tour itself, or those 2 games that you think is worth taking away from it?
I think it came at a good time for the squad. I know not all the squad can go because some are in the World Cup and whatever, but I thought it comes as a good time, as a good bonding experience. Get them all together, build that morale. So I think it was a positive. All the way to Australia, you usually look at that and go, you wouldn't really want to go as far as that mid-season, but the amount of time you've got off, I don't think it really affects anything, this year. So. I think it's good. I think it's brilliant that Anthony Gordon got a few goals and hopefully get his confidence up. A couple of the young lads got goals as well, so get them involved in and around the first team, which I was suggesting he did in the Carabao Cup in Bournemouth before the break. But yeah, hopefully it's a positive deal. I mean, all the social media and everything that they've been putting out, everyone looks like they're in a boss mood, which it would be in Australia and all that. But it looks positive. So then, as you say, that might be a PR exercise and whatever else, but it looks good. It looks like you want to be there, and they're all having a laugh as mates, which is what we need, I think.
Yeah, I mean, there was some criticism, as there always is, from any fan corner, but particularly Everton fans will always find the negative around, like, the players buzzing as though they've won something or whatever. We'll try to remind them of the last 2 games before they finish. But I'm inclined to agree with you more. I think the squad needs that kind of to get away from it, to just probably be in an environment where they're going to be, just be surrounded by positivity. There's been a lot of fans, that Australian, I guess, Everton fans or expats out there who haven't seen Everton for a while, or Everton players that would have enjoyed their company, and it was a bit of a, they're feeling almost like stars for a while, which is always nice, isn't it, for anyone's morale, whether you're someone like us or you're a professional footballer. I think the Anthony Gordon thing is really important for him. There's no doubt in my mind that since he was coveted by Chelsea and that window closed, he's lost something of a mojo and a little bit of the swagger that he had. Maybe that's because he hasn't been hit the back of the net for a while. But the goals he scored, regardless of the opposition, were good finishes. They were good finishes, and sometimes it's like, I think any striker will tell you this. Not that I'm any kind of accomplished striker, but I think any striker you hear on telly always talk about just the importance of getting goals and getting that feeling back, regardless of who it's against. And sometimes they say, look, it doesn't matter if it goes in off your knee or whatever, goes in off your shoulder. You just want to get a goal. But they were good goals he scored, and I think Anthony Gordon will take a lot from that. And look, we need him, don't we?
Yeah, that's one thing you need. I mean, he's got them 2 goals to start the season, but the one thing he needs is his final product, whether that's assists or goals. He needs to add that to his game. So we've got to go out there with the pressure off, because I think after the Chelsea game, I mean, I was quite critical of him when, about the way he sort of, his body language on the pitch after that Chelsea interest. When you think back, he probably added that pressure to him, and that was his way of handling the pressure. And it might have done him good to get away from the limelight and go the other side of the world, and a game with no one's, hardly anyone's watching it, and he can, have a relax and he can play with a bit of freedom. And hopefully it's bringing that freedom back into the Premier League then, and getting the best out of him for the second half of the season. Because if you've got Anthony Gordon scoring goals, you've got a really good player there, and if he's got a good end product, whether that, as I say, scoring goals or assists, it's massive, and we really need that. And we're crying out for it. And he's the person that you'd like to hope it can push on and do that. And forget, he's only young as well, so it's going to be an up and down journey for him for the first few years being in the team. He's been in the team for 2 years, so it's going to be a bit like that. But I think it was nice for him to go away, as I say, no pressure, and hopefully come back with a bit of a spring in his step and a nice golden tan.
I'm not sure he tans so well, though. I think he is ginger by default, isn't he? He's got that blonde hair now, but I'm not sure. I think he'll just get a load of freckles. Another couple of youngsters, or 3 youngsters really, that stuck out, and Isaac Price played in centre mid, and he looked the business. I mean, again, the opposition wasn't fantastic, but his range of passing was superb. He was getting into tackles. I mean, he looked better than Tom Davies, that's for sure, and not that that's any particular pedestal to put him on, but Tom Cannon is one that we spoke about before the games against Bournemouth. He obviously came. He played a part in both those games, albeit not enough of a part. I think we all agree. He's played out there, got a goal in that second game, but also in a game last night for the under-21s against Mansfield, which was in the Papa John's Trophy, which is something of a bit of a joke at times, but it's a good chance for the 21s to play against actual pros and players who they're in a living, and it means a lot to them. They come from 1-0 down against Mansfield to win 2-1, and he scored the winner with a very good finish at Goodison, particularly because of the position he's playing in and because of the lack of reliability on Calvert-Lewin. Is he someone that you would like to see get a start sooner rather than later?
Yeah. I just want him to be in and around not just the squad but the team, and whether it's coming on or whether it's playing half a game or whether it's whether he's ready to start, I don't know, but he certainly can be involved a lot more than he is, and I don't understand why he's not, because it's just an extra option, isn't it? We're struggling in that part of the pitch, so why not? You've got an option there to use him. He's going to have no pressure on him. He's going to be that young naive lad who comes in, if you like, and he just wants to do well, and he's just like a bit of a street type footballer. That attitude, maybe not the way he plays, but the attitude he's got will be like that. So I don't see what harm it can do by getting him more involved. It's fair enough if your strikers are on fire or the scoring every week, and then he's not getting in the team. But it's not like that for us. And I was saying that against Bournemouth in the Carabao Cup. I don't know why he didn't play him. It's just another option, isn't it? It can stop you having to spend big money in January. I know we want to spend money on players, but it can sort of take that away and say, right, we've got some money at least for the rest of the season who can fill that gap and offer us something. You never know. And
do you know what I think is even more significant? The fans will give him a chance because he is a young, homegrown lad. Do you know what I mean? Now, don't get me wrong, you never know how long that's going to last for, but initially they'll get behind him, won't they? Particularly if the player's in that position and not performing. Like Maupay is not getting much support, and rightfully so. His performances have been poor. He's not giving us what we've needed. He's not giving us the physicality up there. He looks like he's someone who can give us that. And I think a local lad coming through who's going to throw himself about, who's scoring goals at the younger levels and has got the potential to score goals. I think that's something that gives the rest of the team a lift, doesn't it? When the fans start getting behind someone and they're trying to will the team on. And we haven't had enough of that in the last few games because of the results as well. Yeah, no, I think you're right. I think the atmosphere in the stadium has started to dip a little bit, and some fresh energy coming in would certainly help. And I think I always love when you see a young player come in
it revitalizes the team as well. Like the older players like thrive off them, and like it's like infectious, isn't it? That they come in and you look at them youngsters coming in, and the older players get infected by it, and it sort of gives everyone a bit of a jump. And I'm not saying he can come in and be the saviour or anything like that. All I'm saying is I think he deserves a chance to come in and have a go, and let's see what he's got, and let's see if he's good enough.
Yeah, I agree as well. So there's as I said, there's Isaac Price. And there's Stanley Mills as well, Danny Mills' son. We spoke about him before. We're not going to go and analyse all the players, but I think what we want to touch on really generally is that I think that the break and the kind of the spotlight being off some of those senior pros has allowed some of the younger ones to maybe get Frank Lampard's attention. And for me personally, I think it's a good time coming back from that, where you're maybe going to have a combination of rustiness from some of the pros that have stayed behind and maybe a bit of tiredness from the pros that have been involved in the World Cup. I think it's a good chance to give some of them lads minutes. But listen, that's about all we've got time for. It's about all we wanted to do. It's half an hour. Hopefully it's give you something to listen to or watch on your lunchtime and give you a little bit of an Everton injection that you maybe haven't had for a few weeks. We're only a couple of weeks away from the return. We're obviously going to be counting down to that. And as we get closer, we'll be getting those shows back in on the regular basis. But thanks a lot for tuning in. Hopefully you win those tickets to the Alan Stubbs afternoon or evening at the Hot Wok on Saturday. If not, hopefully you get down there and have a good time. But whatever you do, enjoy your weekend and enjoy the rest of the World Cup. We'll catch you soon.